Let's start building the good matte for this foreground element. I think I'm going to use IBK. So we'll start with an IBK color. And let's make sure that we set this to green. And what I like to do with IBK color is actually tune the IBK color while looking through the IBK gizmo. Okay, there we go. And we may be able to get a slightly better core here by adjusting the weights, the red and blue-green weight. In here. And we'll probably still need to do a core matte, and we'll definitely still need to do an outside matte for this, but we've already started building our outside matte using our stuff that we did here, our Primat and stuff. Now, this shot's interesting in that part of the gag in the original plate was that they're supposed to be getting stepped on or something, and hence they're recoiling from whatever is casting a shadow on them. So there's a bunch of shadows on the ground and everything that we might want to try to preserve if we can. It's kind of a tall order with especially with the IBK color. What's going to happen is IBK is going to negate or sort of cancel out those shadows because they're in the artificial clean plate we're making. But what we could do conceivably is create a solid matte that would keep some of those in. So rather than using IBK color here real quick, let's experiment with just picking the background color. And we'll pick sort of whatever looks like the best kind of average of everything here and see how much of the shadow we're able to extract as a result of that. And it looks like maybe we're getting a little bit too much of that shadow when we do that. So this may not be the greatest solution. But what we could do, perhaps, is rather than picking it, we could sort of split the difference here. We'll use the IBK color to create an artificial clean plate, but then we'll also mix in some solid color to maybe control some of that shadow. So I'm going to create a constant here, and we'll pick that same color for our constant. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of mix some of that in to this IBK color. So I'm going to use a dissolve. And so now what we're doing is we're saying how much of that shadow, as I dissolve this in, how much of that shadow stuff do I want to bring in, and how much do I want to use the artificial clean plate? So I can kind of use this as a slider to maybe intentionally allow some more of that shadow to come through. And if I wanted to key more on the dark areas, I could of course just darken this overall to be more like the shadow. So I'd key out more of that shadow there. So that's kind of a way to just hack IBK. Let's try this. Let's try keeping some of this shadow in here. And so now all we really are going to focus on is getting rid of this noise. So we could use a denoise upstream of this as well. Let's drop that in here. And we'll make sure that this is switched to digital. As this was captured with the digital camera, we'll have a linear response. And we'll crank this up. As long as we don't lose too much of this detail, we can crank this up, because we're only applying this to the channel, to the track that we're going to use to generate the mats. So we'll apply it to both. Let's see if this is any good. I guess that's okay. So we lost a lot of that noise. I'm not going to stress about the stuff outside of here. Now all we really need is a core mat. So let's go ahead and start building the core mat for this, and we might be able to build it off of this pry mat here if we're lucky. Now this shadow on the ground is kind of challenging. Let's try another strategy. I'm actually gonna use a key light here. And I'm gonna intentionally pick like the darker areas of this. And I'm gonna really crank the gain up. You can tweak key light, the color directly. And this is a trick I'll frequently do to just sort of see what I can get out of it, out of the main algorithm before I adjust the gain or anything. So here I'm actually desaturating the screen and getting a more dense matte out of it, which isn't always an intuitive thing to do. The screen balance will adjust the red-blue weight there. And then now let's see if I can adjust the raw matte just right in the key light itself. And again, this is going to just be a core matte, so as long as I don't make the hands get too blobby by hardening up this matte, I should be able to get away with this. And if we like, we might try pulling it from the denoised as well. I'm going to try tuning up this key light or this pry mat just a little bit more and see if I can get anything good out of it. It's this shadow here that's going to be challenging, the really dark shadow here. Bingo, I think we may have a core mat. So we'll use this as our core mat. Oop, spoke too soon. As soon as they cast shadows, we lose the ground here. What I think I'm going to do for the blue of his shirt here is I'm going to pull another mat on that, another pry mat right on the blue. And it'll be inverted, but I can invert the meaning of this mat after I get it out of pry mat here. So really what I'm doing is I'm trying to make this a black hole, and then I'll flip the key around once I have that. So I'm treating his shirt as if it's the background, basically. And now all of the green has to become the foreground. And all this stuff can become foreground too. It doesn't really matter. Oops. He's got some blue in his shirt as well. So now we have an inverted mat, and I'm going to clean this up just a bit using the old erode dilate hack. Invert it, and then hopefully this will be what I need to fill in his shirt. So all of this cruddy stuff down here Hopefully we can get rid of it. I'm gonna keep going through here. It may not matter either though, because remember we do want to composite a little bit of shadow onto the ground. So I'm more worried about the big flickery things here. Maybe when we clean this up, we can kill that. So remember, we had this roto already that we're using to omit stuff, but it's not being omitted here. So what we could do is move this down, hitting Control Alt or Shift Control X to pop that out, and then clean things up down here. Invert it, and then black out the alpha. Okay, so let's put this into play as our core mat. I don't think we're gonna use this key light, but I'll keep it around for a moment. So this one also has all that extra crud in it that we may want to lose. We'll do our logic down here and connect our roto when we're all done. So we want to bring this into the core of our IBK. Let's shrink it just a little bit. We'll start by trying to use an erode blur to shrink it. So this is our hard core mat, and we'll see if this does the trick. We may need to modify it in a different way if it's getting too blobby around the fingers and stuff. But I'm going to use a max here. So there's the original IBK, and there's with it maxed in. And it's hard to say if the fingers are getting blobby. We'll have to put it in to the actual composite it in first to see if that's creating too bad of an artifact around there. All right, so there's our mat. Let's in the next video, let's put this into play.